At MDPI, a successful peer review means providing basically a responsive and constructive service for the authors. The peer review should in fact be conducted in a timely manner and contain valuable suggestions and improvements that helps ultimately the authors to refine their manuscript. The academic editors and the reviewers on their side, they need to be able to focus on the scientific content only, and that's why we offer a high level of support and coordination.
So in my experience, a number of factors make peer review successful. So firstly, you need to find experienced and excellent scholars who are willing to review the manuscript, who don't have a conflict of interest. Secondly, they need to provide deep and quality comments. Of course, the experience of the scholar isn't relevant if they don't provide extensive comments that the authors can act on.
I think that a good communication among all the parts involved in the peer review process is key for success. Making sure that the authors, reviewers, and the academic editors are well informed is a way of avoiding misunderstandings and problems.
A good peer review process is impartial and unbiased, focused on scientific content of the article, and conducted with due attention to details.
Normally, authors would recommend reviewers when they submit manuscripts. After receiving the candidates, we will check if they have a PhD degree or if they have expertise in this specific research field, or if they have potential conflicts of interest with authors.
In my opinion, the way to go is the references in the manuscript. The list of cited works there, it's a good tool to check the authors that have been cited or that their previous work has inspired their manuscript, and involving them in the peer review process could be a good way to make sure that the manuscript is well reviewed and that the content is understood as it's supposed to.
As soon as we receive a new manuscript, our editorial office will perform some initial checks to support our academic editors to ensure that they follows our quality and ethical standards. As we value transparency and we support our authors to follow the best practices. The editorial office will ensure that the article is original by performing, for example, industrial standards, preliminary plagiarism checks, and checks that the research adheres to the suitable ethical standards.
We check the author's publication record. Number 2, we check for any plagiarism within the document itself. And number 3, an editorial board member looks over the paper and decides whether or not it is good enough to go forward for peer review.
We want to check the background of authors of the manuscript and to make sure there's no authorship concern.
We check an article's basic format, whether it uses the journal's template and has done some basic layout, including header and footer, line numbers, copyright statement, and whether the figures are clear enough and inserted in the main text correctly.
Working with reviewers from different backgrounds challenges my brain to overcome its old way of thinking. It helps me to develop my working skills and make me becoming more aware of my own potential biases.
MDPI has now been publishing for 25 years, and we have seen open access make new research finding more accessible than ever before to the global scientific community. Open access, in fact, is all about enhancement of open communication, greater transparency, and increased accessibility. Everyone can read and participate in the process of developing of scientific knowledge.
It is very important for MDPI to offer an inclusive and equitable peer review process. Peer review is the backbone of academic publishing. And it's very important that everybody has a chance to be heard, and the peer review process is how we do that.
Inviting a diverse range of peer reviewers allows minority groups who have been traditionally marginalized in the scientific community to have their say about paper quality and what they believe is important in a manuscript. So I think it's a huge step in fostering diversity in the scientific community as a whole, and is extremely important for the academic ecosystem.